My next guest is someone who is one of the most brilliant legal minds in the country. You may know him from the Covington school case, the Catholic school case. Nicholas Sandmann, the young teenager who wore a MAGA hat to a rally in Washington and was then targeted by the left and then accused of aggressively going after an individual who was a minority when it turned out to be just the opposite. Lin Wood representing him and getting successful verdicts against the CNN and the Washington Post. And I suspect that the rest of the media will fold as he continues with that lawsuit. But right now, Lin has filed a case in the state of Georgia where he is a resident. Lin, are you with us this morning?
I am with you, Judge Jeanine. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for being with us. I know how busy you are, and we very much appreciate your time. Now, you made a decision individually to sue as a resident of Georgia and as an elector, and the basis of your lawsuit had to do with I understand the Secretary of State not having the legal authority, certainly not the constitutional authority, to change the election law to allow for mail-in ballots. Am I wrong?
No. As usual, Judge Jeanine, you're right. That's the essence of our case. The Secretary of State's agreement with the Democratic Party in March of this year was not approved by, was not made by the state legislature. That violates the laws applicable to a federal election in a state. It can't be done. The election in Georgia was unlawful. They're going to have a do-over, not for the presidency. That can be decided by the Electoral College, selected by the legislature, but there's going to have to be a new down-ballot vote in January. We're going to have a legal election before this election cycle is over. We haven't had one in Georgia yet. All
right. So what, of course, you're referencing is the historic election about to take place in January, where Loeffler and Perdue are now fighting for their seats in the Senate, which, of course, will tip the scales in this country forever if the Democrats are able to take those two seats. But let's talk about President Trump. And the whole idea, my listeners have been calling and asking about what is there enough time and what would it look like to get any of these cases where judges and secretaries of states have violated Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution and changed the election law on their own. Will that, Lin, ever get to the United States Supreme Court?
Yes. In fact, the judge in my case denied a motion for a temporary injunction with respect to the recount. We're going to be filing a notice of appeal on Monday to the 11th Circuit. The recount was unlawful because it was based on an unlawful vote on November the 3rd. So the issue in my case is going to find its way to the 11th Circuit by notice of appeal on Monday. So we're going to get the Supreme Court at some point in the next, I believe, several days to address this issue via the 11th Circuit. So we've got the legal mechanism in place. But let me say this, Judge Jeanine. This election is not going to be decided by the courts necessarily. It's not going to be decided by the legislatures necessarily. Everybody's got a role to play. This election is going to be decided by we the people. We the people voted probably in the neighborhood of 80 million votes for Donald Trump, probably in the neighborhood of 410 electoral votes. We the people are going to take action, and we the people are going to make sure that the president that we elected is sworn in on January 20th. That's going to be Donald J. Trump.
All right. And, of course, talking to Lin Wood, the famed attorney from Atlanta, Georgia. But, Lin, how does that happen? You say 410 electoral college votes and you say 80 million people, but that doesn't seem to be a fact right now.
It will be a fact in due time. There's going to be a lawsuit filed, I believe, this week in Georgia on behalf of the president. And that lawsuit is going to expose in detail the fraud that was perpetrated on the voters of Georgia and the voters of this country. It's going to take a little patience. Remember, it was 37 days for Gore Bush.
Right.
We're about at the halfway mark. We've got plenty of time. The bottom line is, Judge Jeanine, What you're hearing from the mainstream media is a lie. When they tell you, as you mentioned, that somehow Donald Trump's trying to steal the election, that's a lie. The reverse is true. They're trying to steal the election. They've been caught. They're not going to get away with it. The people in this country are not going to tolerate it. Joe Biden will never be president of the United States. Never.
Wow. Well, of course, talking to Lin Wood, a famed attorney. And Lin, I know how busy you are, and I promised to let you go after a few minutes. But I also want to bring to my listeners' attention the fact that you are representing Kyle Rittenhouse and AOC, the congresswoman from New York, slammed his release on a $2 million bond, saying that it is about the protection of white supremacy baked deep in our carceral system, and that it's about law and disorder, a double standard because he's white. What is your response to that, Lin?
Pardon my language. To hell with AOC. She's a liar. She's the one that's the racist. She's the one trying to destroy our country. She's not going to get away with it either. Kyle Rittenhouse went there to help people. He was viciously attacked, and he exercised his inherent right of self-defense. We, the people, got him out of jail. We, the people, raised $2 million in cash to free that boy. He was a political prisoner. AOC thinks she's going to use him to somehow create more trouble in this country. Trouble is coming AOC's way. Stay tuned.
Well, and of course, you mean political, and certainly not more than that. I
do mean political because, listen, I don't advocate. I would never be a party to violence. I believe, though, that there is civil disobedience. Mm-hmm. It was exercised by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was out of Georgia. The devil came to Georgia on November the 11th, Judge Jeanine. The devil's getting ready to get run out of Georgia. Stay tuned this week. The devil's going to be on the run in Georgia.
All right. Lin Wood, famed attorney. Lin, thank you so much for your time. Always good to hear your voice. Thank you.